I feel a bit sorry for William and Kate, really, being put in this position. Demands for reparations, and a whole narrative here that Meghan and Harry have helped to create. I mean, of that, there is no doubt at all. But I tell you what gets me down about this. It is the feeling amongst so many commentators in the UK that somehow slavery is a uniquely British thing. We were the only people in the world,
wait for it,
that ever did it. White British people enslaved black people and sent them across to the Caribbean and the Americas. Now look, none of us today think what happened those centuries back was a good thing. We even don't think public executions are a good thing. There are so many things that happened years ago that we wouldn't, approve of in any way at all. But the thought we should pay reparations, well, hold on a minute.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
Because there was something called the Barbary Pirates. Now, I know that any young people watching this won't know, because they won't have been taught this at all through our education system. But a recent report from Ohio University in America suggests that up to 1.25 million people from Sicily right up the west coast of Spain and France and into Cornwall, getting back to your previous debate that you had before the break, Wales, Ireland, 1.25 million white slaves were taken by North Africans from countries that we now know as Algeria and Libya. And by the way, folks, it wasn't just the Brits doing slave trade. The rest of Europe were doing slave trade. So let's get a sense of perspective. And what's really brought all this on for me isn't just the royal visit to Jamaica. It's Tulse Hill in South London.
Oh,
now, I was at school at
nice.
A mile up the road. They're going to rename Tulse Hill. They're going to cancel Tulse Hill. They're going to get rid of dozens of road names. I've got to be honest with you. I've known Tulse Hill for over 50 years. I didn't know. I'm an ignorant.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
I didn't even know it was based on a guy called Sir William Tulse, who made his money, out of the slave trade. But we can't go on pretending this is a purely British, a purely white thing. We need some sense of perspective and balance in this argument. And above all, what we should say is whatever was wrong in the past, it was the British that first realised what a moral wrong it was, abolished it,
fact,
and then spent decades on the high seas driving out the slave trade at the cost of thousands of Royal Navy sailors' lives. So please, folks, can we have a sense of perspective? And if reparations
wait for it
are to be paid, well, Libya, Egypt, Algeria, you owe us a huge amount of money. And the Cornish will be very, very pleased. They won't even need Gordon Ramsay anymore.
But it would never end. I mean, it was interesting, Nigel. Dominic Samuels on our Superstar panel tonight. She is a Brit with Jamaican heritage. And she said her concern about this, and I found it fascinating, actually, is that the current government of Jamaica is wanting to wall...
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
...paper all of the social problems, all of the other issues in their society today by focusing on this historic issue of reparations. And I think she's right, because actually the Jamaican Prime Minister should be thinking a bit more about how to turn his country around.
Yes, I mean, if the Jamaican Prime Minister wants to continue with this narrative of what he sees as being historic wrongs, and they probably are in many ways, that is giving victimhood status to an entire country.
Yeah.
And that of itself is a very negative emotion. Tell someone they're a victim and they'll feel down. Tell someone they're a champion and they can overcome things and succeed in the future. And you know what? They might just do very, very well. So I find the whole thing a
wait for it
negative narrative. But there's something bigger going on here, and it's not being commented on, Dan, but I'm going to mention it now very briefly, and we'll come back to it in the weeks to come. Take Barbados. Barbados recently got rid of the Queen as head of state. Why? Well, China is the answer. China are doing their best through loans, money, and investments to break the British link with the Commonwealth. It's happening. We've seen it with the Chagos Islands and that row that's going on there. We've seen it in Barbados. Jamaica, I don't think China's the influence there, but there is a big attempt out there to downgrade the English-speaking peoples of the world and this remarkable alliance. And there are lots and lots of people in Jamaica whose granddads flew in Bomber Command in World War II. There is an amazing link between our nations, and it's being poisoned by many, many people. And that is a terrible shame.
Very good point. Very good point. Nigel, I just want to come back to this idea that's been propagated by the left-wing media, by BLM in particular, that the British royal family is racist. And yes, I did get a lot of criticism today because I blamed Meghan Markle for some of this, not for all of it, but for some of it. And I stand by that, Nigel, because her interview with Oprah Winfrey is being used by some of the main activists for reparations and a Republic in Jamaica right now. But what I found particularly unsavoury, Nigel, was the fact that the BLM movement tried to use this picture of William and Kate greeting fans behind a wire fence when Raheem Sterling had done exactly the same thing a few moments earlier and no one mentioned it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, well, look, you know, the contradictions, the untruths of Meghan Markle know no bounds. And the fact that Prince Harry himself is happy for his family to suffer some of the injustice that comes from this, the injustice that comes from this, is so wrong. But the truth of it is, as you can see, Kate and Wills are becoming global megastars. One dares to say Kate more than Wills.
That doesn't make sense.
Somewhat reminiscent of what was going on 40 years ago with his father and with Diana. But I think we should all be very pleased and very proud that out there on the world stage, we've got a couple like this doing us such great credit. And, you know, with the Queen now being effectively confined to barracks in Windsor, we need to recognise that the royal family are the most important part of soft power that we have in this world. The Commonwealth now has within it 2.3 billion people. Add to that.
As for entertaining, I think that would be, and this is unkind of me, but never mind, hearing about all her glorious things that she's done in her life and how amazing she is. And when she was 11, that
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
sort of sending off a letter saying that she didn't like the fact that they said men should be helping in the
which
to
we've
mention-
heard 250,000 times.
should
It's
do
like
it.
that's the only thing she's achieved in her life. What a shame, Angela, that she didn't actually go into the royal family and use that incredible platform to make some real change, which was an opportunity provided to her.
Yes, absolutely. So this is coming out. Maybe very boring. Poor old Harry, he might have his golf or polo or something like that, but he's really being left out of most things. And I think that's another thing we should keep an eye on, because she's doing an awful lot on her own. Maybe she drags him with her, but I don't think he's going to take part.
Now, you're hearing there's been more fallout from that CBS interview.
Stop it.
Last week about the launch of the Parents Network. You're saying many didn't think actually that they were really the right people.
No, very much So they didn't think they were the right people because of what they'd done to their family. And I think that's very interesting. Obviously, you couldn't compare yourself with parents who had a
Wait for it.
child who'd committed suicide because of something they'd seen online. I mean, that is, such a rare, terrible thing. But it's just that they didn't feel that she or Harry were the right people because they didn't
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
put family first. They didn't care about family first. And I think there's something in that. But also Jane Pauley, who interviewed Meghan very well, brought out things about her. We've already said about when she felt that she wanted to die, and how she and the woman, and Jane said to her, well, there's not many people here yet, are there? And Meghan was furious. There were only 3 couples there.
Okay.
And so she brought it out that, well, Meghan wants to do it. She hasn't actually brought together a whole load of people who could discuss it with themselves. And she spent so much of the time talking about herself and what has happened to herself. She really does believe that's what we want to hear first. And of course, these people are desperate for help so that you can hear their story and help them. And they felt that it was a very wrong thing for them to do because some of them who wrote to me actually said that they looked at her and they could see she wasn't the slightest bit interested in the couples who were talking to her. Now, I don't know that. I can't say that because it's difficult.
No, but you could
Stop it.
see it.
But
You could see it, Angela, because there's that moment where, and actually, let's have a look at this. Actually, there's that moment where she was sitting next to a couple who were poor.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Have a look at this.
In his hand, the phone. That's how addicted he was. He couldn't even kill himself without posting about it first.
And like the Dollies, it's often impossible for parents or anyone else to see.
So, Angela, you can see there, can't you? I mean,
yes,
this
it breaks
is
your heart for the couple. Actually,
Yeah.
it really breaks your heart for them because they'd come obviously with hope, and here are this
Okay.
grand couple, and actually, it probably made them feel worse because it didn't work.
And it just feels like a really odd thing for Harry and Meghan to want to take on. As you say, they're
Wait for it.
spreading themselves so thin. And the problem is, look, I think this is a really important cause, Angela, a really important cause, actually. It's absolutely devastating if you're a parent and you lose a child to suicide. But because there's so much exhaustion about Harry and Meghan being victims, always going over the same thing, always talking about themselves, it got lost, really. It wasn't a big launch. And I do also think, Angela, they haven't learnt the lesson from the royals, who focus on a small number of key issues which come to define their lives. So, for example, you look at Queen Camilla, it's all about domestic abuse and the treatment of women, isn't it? You look at Catherine, and it's about early life and education, something she's very passionate about. With Charles, we know obviously it's about heritage and the environment. And with Diana, critically, very modern issues at the time, but it was about the HIV epidemic. It was about bulimia. It was about homelessness. It was about landmines. But Harry and Meghan, what is their cause, Angela? What is their project? There seems to be loads of victimhood going on, but it's very, very hard to attach them to a particular issue, and so they just move on to the next so quickly, which doesn't actually bring the true attention that's required for change.
No, yes, absolutely.
Stop it.
And it was very extraordinary when Harry did speak, and he said that every parent should be a first responder. Now, a first responder is a sort of medical man who saves someone from dying. But I mean,
You serious?
that's not, these are ordinary people, ordinary family And they think, how can I be a responder? Have I done something wrong? Is that one of the reasons? Oh, this is terrible. I mean, it's the last thing you should ever say to somebody, surely.
Yeah, and I just wouldn't be wanting to turn to Harry and Meghan for advice about how to deal with very sensitive issues within a family. Angela, they have shown with their actions that they don't give a damn about the mental health of their own blood relatives because they caused the late Queen and Prince Philip absolute hell.
Are you serious?
During their dying months. That's not something you do if you care about the mental health of your family members. They have absolutely devastated Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, let alone all of the issues that they caused.